I will retweet that. And go back here.
Skipper.
We are live.
All right. It goes.
Boop. Alrighty.
All right. Here we go.
Who's doing those?
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know, Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
And just like that, we are live. You are listening to episode 254 of PHPUgly. I am tonight's host, John Congdon, and with me, Tom Rideout.
I swear to God, at first I thought you were just making up numbers, and then I realized no, it really is 254. It's like, it's just...
Hi.
Welcome to episode 1 million.
That number just doesn't seem to go down at all.
No. Hi, everybody.
We are missing Eric tonight. He is recuperating from a little bit of surgery. Nothing bad. He's fine. He told me he lived through it. So
oral surgery.
Yeah. I don't know how much he wanted to get into, so I was leaving it alone.
I mean, I imagine it's like having oral surgery is one of those things where it's like less embarrassing than everything else anyone could imagine it to be.
Better than
surgery.
Just some other surgery, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
like if I had an embarrassing surgery, I would just call it oral surgery. You know what I mean? Like if I sat on my testicles and somehow caused like a problem and I was out of work for a week, I'd be like, yeah, oral surgery went real hard.
Why is it got to go to oral surgery or to testicles when we're talking oral surgery? I don't get it.
I'm trying to think of embarrassing surgeries you could have. Like, I'm not going to get a Brazilian butt lift. Those things are expensive.
Already the show's off the rails. I don't know what's going on. How was your week? Let's get into that.
Oh, boy. Busy, crazy, lots and lots of testing and anger at testing frameworks and then sympathy with testing frameworks, and then what's the last stage? Acceptance. It's a lot of that. Testing MIME encoding validation. Okay. So we have a situation where we're only allowing certain files to be uploaded, and we want to filter out all the other files, and you could malform the request so that you were uploading an executable or HTML and call it a PDF, and it was passing our validation.
Right.
And so I got through this, thing. I got it fixed. But the issue I was having was, my fix was not using a validator. It was using like an after validation thing in Laravel, which is not the cleanest way of doing it. So I rolled back and cleaned it up and included the Laravel validator, and now the files are not validating correctly again on my test cases. It's like I'm creating a malformed file and sending it, and Laravel's not picking up on the malformed element.
Really?
And I'm trying to figure out why.
Huh.
And it very, very frustrating task. It turns out...
So, is it your test that's failing, or you're saying on the website you're able to upload a malformed document?
It's my test that was failing, because I had written a test specifically to upload a malformed file that I was generating to create this problem. And I got down to the level of the Symfony framework beneath Laravel to find where the actual problem was. And it turns out that when you're using Laravel's faking interfaces for generating a fake uploaded file, that it has a flag for, hey, this is a fake file, so trust me when I lie about the MimeType. So
are you kidding me?
I'm not. I'm absolutely not kidding you. It is intended to circumvent the MimeType checking so that you can do fake file generation. So you can lie about the file size, you can lie about the file location, and you can lie about the MimeType.
Right.
So my test, which was creating this malformed file on purpose, was also creating a malformed file that was so convincing to my test suite that it passed the tests.
So was it a flag you could just turn off and you're good to go, or can you?
I ended up having to create. Well, okay. So this is the other thing: is I had a bit of a misunderstanding about how Laravel's testing implementation works, because I thought it used the HTTP client that's built into Laravel, where you say this post or this get, and it hits a web server endpoint and gets the information.
Right.
That is not what it does.
No, it doesn't. It just calls your controller. Like, it doesn't do an actual.
It calls your kernel.
Right. It starts up a whole new request.
Right.
As if it was a request, but not using an actual.
Yes,
post.
it's a completely mocked request. So while so the payload I was sending, it was the uploaded file type. I was saying, well, it's getting passed through a web server, so it's going to lose all of these special attributes of the file. Like, no, I'm putting a file in the request, and I'm establishing the request payload completely manually. So in Laravel, when it sees a file being attached or uploaded via the multi-part or whatever form type, it gets that file and builds an uploaded file object. But if it sees an uploaded file object, it just uses that object. So I had to totally create a fake real file.
See, I didn't even know Laravel had this, because I use file upload a lot doing MP3 conversions and stuff. But I actually have actual test files in my test directory that I'm using. I'm not mocking a file at all.
So I have test files too, but the way that Laravel's testing works is it says, to test a file, you create a mock uploaded file instance, and we treat it like a real file. But what they don't tell you is we don't exactly treat it like a real file. It skips a bunch of steps.
That's funny. So again, you were able to change the flag and turn that off?
Yes. Now, here's another thing. Similar issue with testing. The authenticated as function in the Laravel testing environment, where you say, yes, I'm doing this request as this user, skips the authentication middleware. So you can't test your authentication middleware using that functionality.
But I mean, do you really need to set up a full request to test your middleware?
Your middleware gets skipped. So
well,
you have to do something. You have to do something totally different.
Right. You should be doing unit tests on that, not testing a request.
Yes, except that the particular problem I was solving was actually a feature test problem.
Yeah, but so you needed to do a full request.
I needed to modify the request object in the middleware, which meant that, like, to test that, I had to create these test cases for modified correctly, not modified correctly. And
so, wait. I'm missing some here. When you do that, it skips all middleware, not just your authentication middleware?
It skips your authentication middleware when you say acting as user.
Okay.
Because it passes, you can pass in which gate you quote unquote authenticated with.
Right.
So it just.
But how does that affect your file upload? Wow, we are going.
No, different is different. Okay. different issue. Unrelated issue.
Gotcha.
Also, technically a related issue, but unrelated issue. Turns out that there's some controller organization juggling that needs to be done.
I am lost.
Yeah, no, it was.
I'll tell you that.
It was a week of testing. It was one line fixes for problems and then 40-line tests for those problems.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be.
I guess. I mean, I sort of didn't believe that for a while, and then I'm like reading articles about testing, and they're talking about how to be as verbose as possible and how to test with scenario testing for feature requests or for feature testing. It's just crazy stuff. How was your week?
Testing as well. I mean, I get to do a lot of it especially when working on greenfield code and new stuff. And I've been in tax and billing hell, which is no fun. And
is it that season?
It's that season. Yeah.
Oh no.
It's phone burners implementing collecting taxes. They've been paying taxes, but now they're going the next step of, we really need to do this properly.
Yeah.
So we've been working on integration to calculate taxes based on, everything, where you live, city, county, state.
That county thing is such a killer.
It's so annoying. And then on top of that, because they're kind of a communications platform doing phone calls, they're using what looks like it's taxes for a telco, where you're charging per phone call, not like, hey, I'm selling my SaaS, because that's all we charge for. So we're using this API that seems way overblown for what we're trying to do. But that's what I was told to do. I've questioned it and told, ignore it. That's the way it is. Got feedback on my PR today. And how I told you I had this breakdown last week where I thought I was going to just lose it.
Yeah.
We've been talking about refactoring the collections the past couple of weeks. Every time I submit a PR that has 4 eaches, you really should use collections. You really should use collections. My PR today, use collections. Yeah, you really should use 4 each. I don't get it.
Why?
I mean, it was definitely way cleaner code to do it with 4 eaches. Because
that's odd. It's not supposed to be.
Well, part of the problem is the API that we're integrating with, the response is horrible. It's 10 levels deep. You're trying to get to stuff. So I was basically taking the JSON, getting it back into an array, going to get an array, turning it into a collection to then act on it. So it just it was a big nest of code where when you see the 3 for eaches it was put into being a lot cleaner, I agree with the feedback. It's just the timing where every time I do some sort of for each, I should be doing a collection. And this time it's the other way. And I was just like, I just want to cry. Trying so hard.
I got upset at Laravel's collection thing this week because I wanted to pluck from a collection and then continue mapping on it.
Yeah.
And
well, pluck just returns a single item, right?
No, pluck returns an array from a collection. From an associated array collection. So if you have users and you pluck name, you get an array of names.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it returns an array instead of a collection type. And the right way to do it is to use filter or something along those lines, because filter will return a collection if you do it right. But I kind of wish it always returned a collection.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you do only or accept or pluck, those all return arrays.
Yeah,
so,
I can see that being frustrating.
And it's not something that they can fix, because that'll totally backwards compatible break something.
Yeah, but the collection library I use on a lot of their, not a lot, on some of their methods, kind of like that, you can say return collection. So one of the parameters is by default false, and then you can pass true, and then you'll get a collection instead. So it sounds like you have a PR due to Laravel.
I got a lot. I'm hoping Laravel's in the Hacktoberfest list, because I've got a bunch of ideas that I want to submit. One of them's real easy.
You're only gonna do it if they're in Hacktober.
No, I'll do it anyways, but it's going to be around the same time that Hacktoberfest is going anyways, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's coming up soon. On top of that, in addition to my week, Eric and I have been in lots of meetings with Oscar going over the PHP architect transition, and
I heard you're panicking a little.
Yeah, a little. It started out with just, there's these few things, and then as we keep talking, and luckily we are. I mean, we've started this 3 weeks. We don't take over till October 1st, so we have 3 weeks or now 2 weeks to kind of go through all this stuff. And we've been in meetings, and as we're talking, it's like, oh yeah, you probably need this. Oh yeah, and that. You probably want this too. And it's like, wow, there is so much to know. And Oscar has been absolutely amazing. I love that guy. He's been recording his processes for doing things. Yeah. And he must have sent over like 30 different videos of, okay, here's how you start this, and here's how you do this step, and here's how you do this thing. And when you first start watching it, it's like, wow,
see,
so overwhelming.
This is great for him, because he's getting paid to create a Udemy course. Right? Like, he could just take those videos he's making and publish them on one of those self-learning websites as like how to create a magazine. And then you guys have been completely undermined.
Nope, it's in the contract. Actually, it is, now that you say that. You're talking, and at first I was like, oh shit. Oh wait, nah. Oscar, if you're listening, that does fall under the non-compete. I'm just saying. You want to roll into some various news things?
Well, here's a big news item.
What is that?
Our sponsor this week is Honey Badger.
Honey Badger transforms you into a DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and cron monitoring into a single, easy-to-use platform. Stop wasting your time tailing logs and deploy with Swagger. Visit honeybadger.io today to level up.
Thanks, Honey Badger.
Thank you, Honey Badger.
Honeybadger.io. We have been expanding our usage of their services, and it's been great.
I've been expanding my usage of Visual Studio Code.
No, before we go there,
before we go there.
Before we go there, I just want to stay on the magazine for 1 minute.
All right. We could talk about the magazine all day because...
No. I don't want to talk about the magazine all day. But this... I love the magazine. I learned so much. And one of the things in this month's September's issue that I found absolutely horrifying is vulnerabilities in Jwt tokens.
Yeah, I saw that.
And how easy it could be to spoof a JWT. I use them, but I don't know when you would use the library and have two different keys available to it. I've only ever done it with a single key. It's always been single purpose. Here's what I'm doing.
Well, it depends on the library you're using and if you're properly implementing blacklisting. So the issue with JWT is that it allows for a refresh token command. So like a JWT token is like a 5-minute token.
Well, it depends. You put in the issued at and expired at times. So it could be whatever you want it to be.
Right. But like in most use cases I've seen, it's like 5 minutes or so, or half an hour or whatever. But it's used on a lot of APIs and it has a refresh token method native to it. And
really?
Yeah. And if you refresh the token, but you don't blacklist the old token, now you've got two valid tokens.
Oh, see, this isn't the vulnerability I was talking about.
Okay, so what is because I saw the article.
The critical vulnerabilities in JWT libraries?
Yes.
So what was pointed out in the magazine is there's the fact that a JWT token, you're saying this is encrypted or not encrypted, signed with this algorithm. And
okay.
If you set up your library to have a symmetric and an asymmetric value, you could be given a token that has a symmetric key, which means you have to know what it is to sign it. But you also have access to the public key of the other token. So you could just say, you can re-engineer the token and change that you are signed with the asymmetric key. And now you have a valid token that you created yourself.
Well, that's not good.
That is not good. Most of the libraries have been told about it and it's been worked on or fixed. I've seen PRs or discussions in GitHub, especially for the Firebase PHP-JWT library, where they said that it's still possible, but they tell you how to work around it. The big thing is they should change JWTs where it's not listed in the JWT what type of hash it uses or what type of algorithm it uses.
Yeah. And apparently there's an algorithm that's just called none.
Yep.
Ew.
So fun stuff. I just wanted to tie that back to the magazine. I still learned tons of stuff from it. So I'm hoping by editing it, I learn even more because I'll have to pay more attention to it.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully that's the case. But like I saw people joking about, a pull request or a code review with 20 lines changed. And you find 10 errors, but a code review with 5,000 lines changed. It's like, no, that's fine. That works.
Yep.
Just pass it. I can't read that book.
I don't want to read that book. Those PRs often sit in my queue right up till we're supposed to review it within a day or two of getting it. And those big ones will just sit in there and I'll get to it eventually. Approve. I'm done.
Yeah.
I've done my best
daunting.
looking through it. Yeah. All right. Sorry for interrupting. Where were you going? Oh, VS Code.
VS Code.
Bring us back up.
It's been very popular in our Discord this week.
You get to our Discord at discord.phpugly.com. please join us. I saw all that chatter in there about VS Code, and a lot of the chatter was how to make VS Code like PHP Storm. I was like,
it was not. It was
just
not
use
that.
PHP Storm.
No. It was.
Yep. It was exactly that.
No.
I'm standing by that.
There were dissenters who were saying, doesn't PHP Storm already do that? And like, why have one extension when you can have 20? But no, it does quite a bit of stuff that PHP Storm maybe can do, but is not intuitive. And really, the thing that it does the best that PHP Storm does not is have a simple interface for creating new extensions. So people who have an idea for something can very easily in VS Code implement that.
That's both great and scary, because I know everybody listening, me included, I want an extension, I go look for an extension, I install an extension. I never go and validate the source.
Yeah,
and
you don't audit it.
Are they taking my code and like uploading it somewhere? I don't know. Is that possible? I don't know.
Yeah, that's totally possible.
So you want to talk to your bosses about that and see if it's okay to be using VS Code?
Nope. No, good.
I'm sure in fintech they don't like that.
I am sure that if something happened, we would just sue the shit out of Microsoft. And that'd be the end of it. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, let's see how well that.
But
works
the same could very easily be said of the extensions that are available in PHP Storm. It's
That's
just
true.
that they're harder to write.
Mm-hmm.
But that means they're also harder to audit, and so you get one or the other.
Yeah, you are correct on that.
But I was playing around with some testing based extensions recently, and found one that I really like called Yet Another PHP Unit, which lets you, like, when you're in a test, every method that is a test has a button above it that says run this test right here, and it just does it right there.
Yeah, PHP Storm does that already.
It doesn't do it as a code inspection though. You have a some key command to do it.
Wait, when you're in the actual file. Wait, when you're in the test file or the actual code file?
In the test file.
Yeah, so I have that in the gutter. There's a little play button next to each method. You just click that and you're good to go.
Oh, see? Well, that's nice. Another one that I know that PHP Storm doesn't have is a sort of a visual tour of all your tests, which ones are passing and which ones are failing. It just says, check marks and then red boxes. And it drops a breakpoint into your test that fails. So you can go to that test and run it, and it'll throw with the breakpoint and let you inspect.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like if a test fails, it adds a breakpoint, which is cool.
Yeah. So with PHP Storm, I have it set to, if a test fails, it jumps to that test at the end. So, but it's jumped to the first failing. So the first one that fails at the end of the run, it jumps right to there, and then it doesn't set a breakpoint. It just says, here's the test that failed.
Yeah. The other one I like is Laravel Extra IntelliSense.
Go back to testing. Do you get code coverage on your actual code?
I still don't have Xdebug, so I don't get code coverage, but I do have the extension for code coverage gutters, which gives me a visual. When I get a coverage report, it gives me a visual for each line of what's covered and what's not.
See, I had this weird thing in PHP Storm where by default it's both the gutter and the actual code. The actual lines are either red or green, like the background of it. But I get into this weird case sometimes where the gutter and the code don't match, and then it's just like frustrating. Because the gutter is usually right and the code is wrong and the code is all red, and it's like, but it's covered, and it's driving me nuts.
That's weird.
It is. I close storm, restart storm, and it's fixed. But who wants to do that every time?
Yeah, so a lot of extension talk in the Discord. Laravel Extra IntelliSense I really like because it's got the normal PHP IntelliSense stuff, but it also is aware of some stuff that Laravel does that uses magic. So if you have a scope on one of your models, the method is named scope get users for action, which normal IntelliSense will think is a valid method. But in Laravel, it's not a valid method. The method name is get users for action, not scope get users for action. And you can only call that when you're in the builder instance of the model, not when you're in a concrete instance of it. So PHP IntelliSense understands that stuff. Or Laravel IntelliSense understands that stuff. Also route names and middleware names that are normally strings. It can autocomplete those, which IntelliSense can't understand because it's just a string somewhere. So it's got some very smart stuff, and I'm still really enjoying VS Code, and it's still very fast and hardly ever crashes.
I thought just a few weeks ago you were wavering. You were like almost going back to PHP Storm.
Nah. I'm happy with this. I don't see a problem.
For now.
For now.
You're a fair weather fan.
I got a bizarre article today.
What is that?
Somebody implemented generics in PHP as like a composer add-on.
What?
It's
well, it's userland, so it's not going to be good, right?
But I guess it is. It's very strange. But the way that it appears to work is that when you run the command dump generics, it creates concrete classes that fulfill the same requirements as the generic that you wrote. So you have a generic of boxes, which is box and then T.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates an iterable class that can only contain boxes. It has validators and throws exceptions for anything it contains that's not a box. And it changes the autoload, the composer autoload file, to reference the concrete classes that it generated instead of the generic that you referenced.
Fascinating. So
I mean, really fast. Like when I first heard about this, I was like, bullshit. And then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, this is crazy.
So when you dump it, is it like rewriting all the files somewhere? I'm so confused.
I believe it's creating a vendor directory for generated generics for concrete versions of your generic class.
That seems so weird.
It is.
I'm doing it with collections. Like, it's not an actual generic, but it's like yesterday or today I created an integer collection. So it's a collection that only accepts integers into it. But you can do the same thing with any other object type.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard to do. It's just...
Well, I mean, I guess
this
would be considered the hardest way of doing it, which is he modified the PHP parser library from Nikita Popov to understand what a generic is and to create these concrete classes based off of the definition of the generic in your generic class.
Hmm.
It's it's definitely super crazy. Like, I would not feel comfortable using this anywhere.
Nah.
But it is absolutely an exercise in like the maximum you can do with PHP. And I think it just got released like a week ago.
But it's already stable. It's at 1.0.1. 101.
Well, yeah.
So it is stable. You should be using it in production now.
You're only supposed to release stables. Unlike the problem I had this week with a change in Laravel that was rolled back after we had implemented it. And now we can't get it to work with the newest version.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. The newest version, by the way, 8.63. 63.
Time to go to 9.
I'm so tired.
Once that number gets above 50, you gotta bump the major version.
Or you have a breaking change that people have implemented.
How did you? So there was a breaking change that I don't get it.
So this wasn't my work. This was a coworker's job. They had implemented a test with the version of Laravel that we have. And then when they went to upgrade Laravel, it turns out that a feature had been implemented in our version, and the next version had been removed because it was breaking something else, and it wouldn't be reintroduced. So something was added and then taken away with no regard to who would be using the thing that was added, and that taking away a thing you added, whether or not it was because it turns out there's a big problem, whether or not you can't upgrade now.
They were fixing all the people that it was breaking.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. And why did they have to do that? Because they released too fucking fast. It was in a PR for 4 days, and then it went out on Tuesday. I'm tired of it, man. It is so frustrating.
Well, stop being so bleeding edge and taking on all the new features.
I'd love to.
This is your fault. I'm just saying.
I'll have to ask my buddy what the exact issue was, because everyone always asks, like, well, what's a practical example of your problem with how Laravel does versioning? This is the best example. So I need to have it like written down on Slate and give it to people. I'm surprised you
didn't have it ready to go as we were talking about it.
I'm so busy today.
Well,
I'm always
recording.
Busy.
But we were recording today. You should have known this already.
I know.
My goodness gracious. Hey, did you see that all of the data on Travis CI was available between September 3rd and September 10th?
I heard something about that. Funny enough, I'm actually no longer the admin for the Doom and Gloom channel. It seems like the users have taken it from me.
Yeah, they do a good job of that, and we appreciate our.
We very much appreciate.
Amazing. But yeah, between September 3rd and September 10th, all the secure environment variables of public Travis CI repositories were kind of available. If you could open a PR against the public repo, which you could, you were able to get access to all of the environment variables. That is scary, because we put in actual keys into our test suite so that tests can run. And
yeah, but those keys should be staging keys. They still shouldn't be production keys. I mean, yes, it's a bad leak and it should not happen.
Right, but so I don't know if this could be my naivety, me being naive, because I can't figure out naivety. nativity. Anyway, does AWS have a sandbox where I can use sandbox keys? Because for my test, I actually have keys that, I mean, they're nowhere else other than our testing environment. We can rotate them out as easily. And that's just an example, but we have Twilio keys for doing some tests there.
You should just be unit testing that. You shouldn't be testing against a server.
Well, don't tell me this. I know this already, but that's not the case. Chill.
No,
don't preach to the tester.
It's really bad news. But you should be mocking all your tests that require keys, API keys. You should be mocking the interfaces. And if you're doing AWS stuff and if you want to do real tests with that, you should be running an AWS mock server to do tests. You shouldn't test against real AWS. So there is an AWS. There is, God, what's it called? I'll have to look this up because I was running it for a while.
Well, now I'm going to want to know what that is, because that would be great.
Dynamo? No. DynamoDB local is one option.
Well, we don't need to do all the research right now.
I'm just saying. There's stuff out there. You shouldn't have keys in your testing and staging environment anyways for that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Also
but
super bad.
Yeah. Shouldn't be in the key term, but it happens.
Yeah. And if we're trusting our extensions to not just send all of our keys to everybody and all of our third-party apps we have, like Table Plus and Postman and Zoom. Everyone's stealing from us. And you know how I know this?
Because your microwave is watching you.
That too. But MailChimp.
Oh, I heard
MailChimp got bought by Intuit.
For just a couple of dollars. Not
just a couple. $12.
Yeah.
Wait, no. What's that? What's a big B after 12 mean?
I thought it was 14. Wasn't it 14? Or is it only 12?
That's just 12.
Oh, $12 billion?
$12 billion. And there was some confusion in the Discord as to why MailChimp would be worth $12 billion.
They got a lot of data.
They got all the data. So when you sign up for MailChimp as a provider, as a server, so you can send out your newsletter, they ask you lots of stuff like what industry you're in, what kind of emails you're sending. Are they promo codes? Are they newsletters? That kind of stuff. And they have all the data that's contained in every email you send. It's all the content. So, are you updating people on security stuff or, new mommy stuff or student information? And then they have double opt-in email addresses for everyone who's on every one of those email lists. So it's a known valid email address that points to your Facebook account, your Google account, all your stuff, so that they can cross-integrate with and compare your data against other data. So MailChimp runs the newsletter industry. Anyone who does scheduled repeated emails uses MailChimp unless they've rolled their own service for it. So, mommy blogs, like I said, mommy blogs is a big one. Fashionistas and all that kind of stuff.
You want to know a service I learned about this past week?
What?
So going along those same lines, if you want to get away from MailChimp, our good friends over at Spotty, I believe this is a Spotty package. I could be wrong.
I think it
This
is.
is mailcoach.com.
Yeah, that's spotty.
Oh, no. Mailcoach.app. I'm sorry. Mailcoach.app.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked fully into it. I was going to sign up and start looking into it to move away from MailChimp. But basically, instead of using MailChimp servers, you use your Amazon SES or some other like Mailgun, some other mail service. I don't know what kind of tracking it has. I don't know all the features, but definitely something I want to look into. So it sounds very interesting.
Well, they do have a privacy focus bullet point. But yeah, I mean, if you look at how much it costs to use MailChimp, it's free. So if you're wondering,
up to, within reason, it's not free.
Well, it's free within reason, but then like even at the higher levels,
yeah,
you're paying $100 for 1 million emails or something like that. That's pretty fucking close to free.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The premium is $300 a month for 10,000 contacts. And the free version lets you have 2,000 contacts. And $300 a month for 10,000 contacts that you can mail on an almost, on a daily basis is quite cheap.
Yeah.
That's basically covering server costs. So where their money, where that 12 or where at least 11 of that $12 billion in value is coming from is absolutely the sale of your information.
Still, even 1 billion is such a huge number. To go to 12 billion, obviously not cash. There's some other, like, they're valuing at 12 billion. That's got to be stock and everything else. Who knows what it is?
Well, oh God, every article now. Every article now, even on Bloomberg, is not just the story. It's the story of how they got to the story. It's like a cooking blog.
And you gotta go scroll all the way to the bottom to get any sort of.
It is
detail.
The title of the article is "Investors Predicted MailChimp's Demise. It just sold for $12 billion," and it starts talking about how the logo is a monkey, and that's why it's called MailChimp, and it was a side project of blah 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 blah, and it now sends 1 billion emails every weekday. Professor of entrepreneurship at Belmont University says they were able to control their business. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not the article. That's my grandma used to live in a wood cabin and cook this on Thursdays. Tired of fluff writing.
Well, it got you to click on it, didn't it? So it's not.
Yeah, it got me to close it.
It's doing the job that person was paid to do.
If only we had access to a media outlet where we could be quick and concise. Headline matches the content.
If only.
If only.
I think we are growing in those number of outlets we have. Podcasts and magazines, books.
I think we have like 80% of them.
Now you're just quoting other tweets.
Yeah.
Sherry.
I was very surprised when I got the JetBrains PHP roundtable, or what do they call it? The JetBrains PHP annotated. Got this month's JetBrains PHP annotated. No mention.
Single word.
No mention of the purchase. In fact, our podcast is now missing from PHP annotated.
Is it really?
The podcasts that got listed this week are 2 from internals and 1 from dev mode, which I've never heard of.
Oh man, Eric and I have a tendency of everything we touch turns to shit.
I'm worried we're getting blacklisted by the community now. That we're gaining too much power as influencers.
Now you're going too far.
Well, I mean, it's like one of those, I fantasize about being a millionaire things. Like, what would I do if I had $1 billion? What would I do if I could influence the PHP community in any way whatsoever?
See, that's the problem. You're aiming too low. You're only going for $1 billion, not 12 billion.
But see, that's a number you can't manage, like, mentally.
You can't manage one mentally.
I could manage $1 billion mentally because there's things like yachts that cost $500 million. So there goes half of your money. But like 12 billion is enough money to overthrow a government. Like by a long shot. 12 billion, you could go into Nicaragua and just overthrow the whole government by paying everyone to do it.
Or you can have 24 yachts.
You can have a yacht inside a yacht, which is a type of yacht they sell. Where the helicopter sits above the docking bay for the smaller yacht. It's so crazy to me, the amount of money that people have. The amount of people, like Jeff Bezos. Like he's retiring and he's going to go on the council on the board of directors for Amazon. And I'm like, why go on the board of directors? It's like just so you can direct the company to keep your stocks valued the way you want them to. But like, you have more money than God. Just go away. Just buy it. Buy the biggest island, buy Australia and just go away.
What are you going to do? Just kick everybody out of Australia? You got to go live somewhere else?
He could. 100% he could. He could buy. Australia's got a lot of open space. He could just buy it and like.
That's because nobody wants to live in the open space.
Well, okay. Sure, there are a lot of animals that want to kill you, but you could buy them out too.
I don't think that's how this works. Hey, we should probably thank some Patreons, huh?
We should thank. I had it up early. We should thank some Patreons.
Yes. Thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. We do appreciate you. Started getting messages from people that have received their swag gifts. We have not sent internationally, and I never got a straight answer from Eric if we're supposed to be sending to all of our international patrons and how that works.
Yeah, we are. We've got some core level patrons that do get the international treatment. I think any new patrons we disclose, hey, international shipping is like $200 or something. But yeah, Buttery definitely gets his Japanese postage paid for.
Or you can just hop on a plane and take it to him. Just saying. Might be cheaper that way.
If you got billions of dollars, yeah. Buy an airline. I mean, the report this week. The report this week is that Amazon's going to be worth $1 trillion. That upsets me so much.
What? No.
Yeah.
When? No, didn't they just pass the billion mark?
No. No, Bezos is like 4 billion. Amazon first touched the $1 trillion market cap threshold January of last year.
Oh yeah, it was trillion, wasn't it?
Microsoft is nearing the $2 trillion market cap. I mean, that's a military defense budget.
How is Microsoft still making money? Still from the OS sales?
From the server sales. And from the training and from the
yeah.
there's They got investments all over. They've got the multiple Surface devices. Every laptop and desktop sold has a copy of Windows on it.
Yeah, they're about to get some money from me too. I think I'm going to be buying a Windows license.
I bought one after 25 years of pirating a Windows license.
Yeah, probably right around there with you.
I think the last one...
not necessarily pirating. I just haven't needed one.
The last time I've bought a license was Windows 95.
It's probably right where I was too.
Yeah, and then I
maybe 98. Maybe 98.
Everything after that was pirated.
I just didn't use Windows, so no pirating necessary.
True, but I mean, you're paying for it somewhere else. You're buying Macs and stuff.
Yeah, well, now I think we're going to run Windows in a virtual machine to do stuff for the magazine.
Really?
Versus buy a Windows machine. Yeah, I could probably do it on my Mac. That means breaking out a Mac. Fun.
Have you seen the new component-based laptops?
The what?
The framework laptops?
No.
You haven't seen this?
I have not. I have no clue what you're talking about.
It's a company called Framework that decided that laptops should be just as modular as desktops. And so everything is like a component.
Frame.work.
Frame.work. And you look at the DIY edition. And everything is just a piece that fits into a place on the case that's designed to fit a piece. And then it's got these like module expansion cards, upgradable motherboard.
I click on it, I get the little sad file face. Like, cannot load.
Well, you need to fix that.
Nope.
Well, Linus of
fixable.
Linus Tech Tips. You know Linus Tech Tips?
I know Linus LTT.
They sent him a demo unit, and he dropped $250,000 in stock, or he bought $250,000 worth of stock in the company. Because he said during the review, he was like, "This is so good that if they allowed for investors, I would invest in it." And they emailed him, and they were like, "All right, man up. We'll take your private investment. That's fine." And so he gave him $250,000, and he's an actual real investor in this company. And it's cool. Like, you should watch that video, the LTT video, because it
put it in the show notes.
All right.
Unfortunately, their little whatever is on that front page of the DIY edition is not loading.
Loading for me.
Did not complete request because customer chat is disabled. No, that's customer chat. That's not what I'm caring about.
Yeah, it's cool. I've been all about tools today. Spent a lot of time checking out tools, and one of them that just came out is called Skipper.
Have not heard of it.
So you know those programs that like query your database and get all the foreign keys and then draw a map of your database.
Mm-hmm.
So Skipper does that, except that it also integrates with Eloquent, which is Laravel's ORM, and Doctrine, and I think there's another one that they integrate with. Cake, PHP. And it looks at your models in your code and establishes has many, belongs to many relationships between all of your tables, as well as what your foreign keys and your indexes say.
Really?
So it draws up this nice big map of how your application data talks to itself and belongs to itself. And it's
it's using a combination of both the database and these things, or is it one or the other?
So you give it the database, and then you give it the directory for the ORM, and it figures out all of the relationships between all of your tables in both. And it gives you a map of which relationships are associations via your ORM and which of them are indexes. And it gives you a very big, pretty graph of all of your components and how they're interrelated on a software level, not just on a database level.
Okay, so you got this. This was Laravel news, but skipper18.com is the actual site for it. So it's not just Laravel.
Skipper18.com.
Fascinating. Is there a Linux version? There is.
Yeah, I just clicked on download and it gave me the debut or the deb package.
Windows, Mac, or Linux. All right.
Free trial, free 14-day trial. Just takes all your database and sends it to a server in China.
Of course. So what are you getting with the buy now? I haven't gone that, like, is it a monthly?
It is a lifetime license for $500. That's expensive.
But you only get 12 months of updates. So you have it for a lifetime, but you only get updates
maintenance
for a year. Yeah, or it's $170 a year and you get all the updates.
Yeah.
That's not cheap.
That is expensive.
All right. Okay, before I do anything with it, I'll watch the video.
I did not see that price. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch the full feature set video because I loaded it up and I'm like, oh, that's very cool. I don't know if that's $500 cool.
It's $500 for two people, too. It's not.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. One person. Lifetime license for one user plus 1 year of updates.
One person.
One person. That is crazy. Cool. All right.
I mean, how do you price that? That's a weird.
It seems like a one-time use thing, right? I mean, all right, I update my database, now I'm going to run the tool again, maybe, but it's not like a daily use thing.
I'd have
$500 first.
Yeah, I'd have to see like all of the features it supports because, I mean, I know the Postman license is expensive too, but it does a lot.
Yeah,
this seems like
they're constantly adding features too.
Yeah, they just added a blog post for like their new API World Gateway or something like that. They've got some whole new thing that they're trying to push. I didn't read it. It was at least a page long. But this $500 per user is outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got these testimonials for like CRM developer. It saves 14 hours a month for this guy, which comes out to $7,500 a year.
Saves them money, but how's it saving them hours and what? What's it saving hours from?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch some kind of video that's like, look at how magical it is for a daily task.
Yeah, I think you steered every way down the wrong road.
I totally did. It's got so it supports like annotations and YAML and XML ORM definitions, and yeah, it's a lot of work, but I don't. How is it so expensive?
I don't know. All right, I think we need to wrap up because obviously we are boring enough that nobody in Discord is chatting with us. So
that's not good.
I think we've sufficiently run this into the ground. Eric, we're sorry. You're the king of the show. Everybody's here for you.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if he had teeth removed just to prove us a point.
Yeah, probably. All right. I'm wrapping it up. That's it. Episode 254 is in the books. I am John Congdon.
I'm Tom Rideout. Didn't know we were using last names.
All right. I'm John.
I'm Tom.
Keep it
ugly. Oh, see, they... Darling Data likes it.
Well, now you got to hit the button for Harry Mack.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric.
I thought that was great.
Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know,
I think there was
Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. Yo, shout to John. You know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting. I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when
Eric,
it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it.
Everybody.
You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
Eric told me to.
Woo! I
don't know where we got that code.
I really dig Discord this week with all the testing talk.
Yeah,
Vimectomy. That sounds painful.
That code scrolling in the background, I don't know, but every time I see it, I cringe because it's got all sorts of $_ requests through it. Somebody pointed it out last week as well.
Yeah,
it's just like it's not good code for sure.
Which, I mean, is oddly fitting for us.
Yeah, it is, but
Windows 11 launches October 5th. That's going to be an interesting one. I will not be upgrading to Windows 11 because I can't.
Why is that?
Windows 11 has a requirement that your CPU have a TPM2 module, which my 8-year-old CPU does not. In fact, only the most recent CPUs have this.
How do you know if you have this?
You have to look it up.
Good night, Eric.
Good night, Eric. Get well soon. I am sorry about the surgery. I did not know a hemorrhoid could get that bad. Yeah, it's this whole thing with Windows 11. Like the majority of people can't upgrade to Windows 11 because they're on CPUs that are unsupported.
How is that going to work in a virtual environment?
Ooh. That's a good question.
Or maybe I just don't think about it and just get Windows 10 because I'm using it for exactly one thing. Or maybe I just set up my Mac and just use that. What is the... Good.
I think you still have to have a TPM in your virtual machine, in your host machine. So the TPM is this cryptographic chip that that adds a layer of security around like disk encryption and stuff like that. But Windows is
So-
also saying that it can be used to prevent cheaters in video games, which is like a big push for them.
Can I run a trusted platform module, which is TPM, on AMD computers? Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a list of Windows 11 compatible CPUs. But
I have an AMD Ryzen, so I think I'm good.
It depends which version. There are versions of Ryzen which are not supported. Do you know which Ryzen you have?
Threadripper 3960.
What? You have a Threadripper?
Of course I have a Threadripper. Who
Screw
doesn't have
you.
a Threadripper?
Like anyone? That's a baller CPU.
Came with this
3960?
machine. Yeah.
Get the specifics.
How to enable TPM 2.0 on AMD. So I guess you have to enable it.
3960X?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so that yours is compatible. Damn. They're still making Athlons with them? So I just know that. So Threadripper's Buttery, there's a wide range. The ones that have 128 cores are like $4,000.
Gotcha.
But
Well,
like,
can we tell?
let's see, the 3970 is 2,500.
No, it wasn't a $2,000 CPU, Buttery.
3960X. That's $1,700.
What? No.
Yeah.
Not when I bought it. When I bought it, it was like dirt cheap.
It's used. It's $2,200. You did not buy a cheap Threadripper. Are you sure it's a Threadripper and not a Ryzen?
It just says Ryzen. I thought I saw Threadripper somewhere.
Okay, because a Ryzen 3670. What's the model?
3960.
3960X. That's 7,200.
I don't know. I don't know what I've got.
That's a Threadripper.
Stop making me feel bad.
No, I'm curious how you ended up with a 24 core 3.8 gigahertz CPU and don't know about it.
I do know about it. I was just trying to downplay it because you're making me feel bad.
That's an incredible CPU.
When I purchased the machine, it said, "Hey, do you want to upgrade this?" And I said, "Sure." Can I use miles on my credit card?
Oh, that's how. So it wasn't real money.
It's never real money. I don't use real money.
Oh, okay. Darling, I've used WSL. It is not quite what you think it is. We about a year ago, I was big into WSL, and it's the trick to WSL is that it is a subsystem for Linux, which means that you get all the Linux commands and interfaces, you get the shell, but stuff like Docker is a Windows native executable that you can talk to through a Linux shell. So when you say Docker up, that it calls the Windows version of Docker. So depending on the service and the support for that service, you're not running Linux in Windows. You're running a Linux shell that can talk to Windows. The benefit is that you get the Linux interface for the command line, and it's very similar to some older projects that were out there, with running Linux in Windows. I can't remember what that was called. John, do you remember what that was called?
Nope, not a clue.
There was
again, I don't use Windows.
Before this, Cygwin. Yeah, Cygwin. So this is basically a more modern version of Cygwin.
Like moderner.
But if you're on a Windows machine, what I would honestly recommend is install the GitHub software, which gives you a right click on your desktop to open a Linux console or a Bash console here. And that's all Cygwin style stuff as well, but it's much more, you understand the limitations much more natively. And I did run Cygwin for a while. It sucks. It's a terrible experience. It works, but it's basically all of the Linux command line tools compiled as .exes, and then a little interface that doesn't require the .exe to call them, or allows for piping and stuff like that. It's really nothing special. A lot of people, so one of the things with Windows machines is that they are managed machines. Windows' biggest selling point and the way it makes all of its money is managing other people's computers on networks, managing large networks of deployed machines, sending updates after they've been tested by your team and stuff like that. The military runs all Windows machines for its employees. They have Linux devices, but those are like in-field operational things. Anything that you would consider a computer is a Windows machine. Running zip drives, by the way. And the reason for this is that you can fire someone from a mile away. Just, click on their user account and mark it as locked, and they get logged out of their machine, and all their data gets deleted and backed up to some remote thing. So remote user management is what Microsoft makes its money on. So you can't just always put Linux on the thing you want to have Linux on. And Mac is getting better at that too. My machine is pretty well remotely managed. Like file vault is required. I can't turn it off. And then like my company could tell me that I can't install third-party software. Like it has just an authorized list, whitelist and stuff like that, but they don't do that. But that's through a software service called Rippling, which taps into some of the new stuff that OS X is allowed at the lower level. That Skipper thing, I am shocked at that price. That is outrageous.
I know.
But how do you decide what to price your software at?
Whatever people pay for it.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't do enough where I need that type of visual access to my database, or any of that, but maybe it does more than I'm giving it credit for. I need to go watch the videos on it, which surprisingly, there was one on the Laravel news page, but I didn't see any on Skipper 18.
Yeah, I don't see any either.
So I'm going to have to watch the one on Laravel news and see what that's all about. Maybe it'll be more
under testimonials.
Actually, maybe there wasn't a video there. Oh yeah, there it is.
I'd have to create a presentation for my boss to get them to buy me this.
Yeah.
It helps me make presentations. Here's a presentation on how it does that.
Skipper saves you a huge amount of time at any phase of your project lifecycle. It doesn't matter if you start from scratch or just edit an older project. This is what you always get. a terribly large amount of time, which you can spend in a better way. What? Decreases the demands on your coder skills.
I wonder if you can create from this interface. I wonder if you can establish new relationships.
It allows you to perfectly know your model.
Yeah, I think that there's big companies that need this kind of stuff.
But like MySQL Workbench does something similar already.
Yeah, but doesn't get those relationship mappings. That's so cool.
It does if you have foreign keys.
It's only if you have foreign keys, but you can have relationships that are very much not foreign key related.
Yeah. I suppose.
And so it goes into, you can get properties from the ORM on stuff as well. So you can have a client ID column, but the ORM defines it as always being required, casts in a certain format, is fillable, is guarded. Oddly enough, doesn't appear to have worked in this case, because it's definitely a guarded field that I'm looking at, and it's not telling me that it is.
So you ran it on your code?
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, it creates a really cool, pretty map. But
once you have the map, are you gonna use this application daily? I mean,
it depends on what it lets me control. See, this is another thing I kept getting into.
It's per user.
With my tools today, as I was looking at all these extensions and third-party tools that I have. So I have a Table Plus for managing my database stuff. I have Postman. I have Visual Studio, Calendar and email, Docker desktop. It's a lot of garbage. And I like more and more, I like being able to import stuff into Visual Studio Code and saying this lives here. But then I don't like any of the database solutions that I found for Visual Studio Code. So I'm using Tables Plus because it's nicer. By the way, interesting thing to note. All of these SQL clients have a default detection method in them. If you type in localhost or a named host, it tries to connect via the socket, the local socket in Linux or in OS X. If you type in an IP address, it tries to connect via TCP.
Yeah.
So even though localhost and 127.0.0.1 are the same thing, one will fail in MySQL with no good explanation as to why, and the other won't. And every single client I've tried, when I type in localhost, it just goes, can't connect. It doesn't even bother suggesting, by the way, when you connect via localhost, it defaults to a socket instead of a TCP connection. You would think every one of these clients, just to avoid the hassle, would say, it appears you're trying to connect via socket. Have you tried 127.0.0.1 instead? Or try it for me and give me the notification. Because localhost and 127.0.0.1 are always the same thing on every computer ever made, except for some that are at the Pentagon.
I can tell you that doesn't happen in DataGrip because I have mine set to localhost with a port and it works fine. See,
then
you got to move to JetBrains.
JetBrains is doing what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing. Is you have localhost set, and I can guarantee you JetBrains is resolving localhost and then connecting via TCP. Whereas everything that uses the MySQL client, it's not doing that.
Right.
And all of these tools, all of these database tools require you to have MySQL client installed because it turns out that they're just a GUI front end for a script running in the background calling MySQL client.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the version of MySQL client that you're on matters for all of these applications, which that's not how applications are supposed to fucking work. Because I had a bad version of MySQL on my system, and I downloaded like 10 clients, and only 2 of them were like, oh, I know how to resolve this correctly, and actually included their own MySQL client. All of the other ones referred to the MySQL client that was installed on my machine. Come on. You're asking for trouble doing that.
All right.
So I got that working. I have a MySQL client now. It's nice.
You can always switch to JetBrains.
I don't like it though, and VS Code's free, and everything I have done with it has been better.
Good.
And that they have this little nav bar on the left that has your plugins that need their own like page, and it's so smooth. I have a remote explorer. I have the Atlassian stuff. I have all my source control, file explorer. And even though everyone says, well, PHP Storm has that. PHP Storm has a lot of this stuff, but it's harder to find. The default layout of VS Code is much easier to use.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
You playing Rocket League tonight?
Oh, no. I'm going to watch some... I'm going to put some bad TV on in the background, and I'm going to read William Gibson.
That sounds not like...
All
right.
Neuromancer. Have you read Neuromancer?
No.
It is really funny.
Problem is I don't read. I should read. I have a book right here. Read to Lead. And I haven't read it, so I can't lead.
So Neuromancer is a 1984 book that coined the term The Matrix and is the basis for the entire story of The Matrix, plus every other AI-based story since 1984. Oh, yeah. Like it is the origin of all of these sci-fi cyberpunk stories. It is so cool. And it's well written enough that it's like you could see these references. Like basically the main character is Neo, and his protagonist friend is Trinity, except that Trinity has knives in her fingers. It's so good. It's a really fun read. But all right. If you didn't know when this book was published, you would think that it was just straight up ripping off The Matrix, but it turns out that The Matrix is straight up ripping it off. And like they admit that. Also, did you saw the trailer for the new Matrix movie, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you hear when it takes place?
No.
After The Matrix 1. It is
really.
Yeah. There's some summary got leaked, and they basically said Matrix 2 and 3 didn't happen. And Keanu Reeves plays the actor who starred in the Matrix movie. Like the Matrix, the movie is canon in the new Matrix movie. And Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves for that movie.
That's funny.
I'm so excited to see how insane they go, because it's supposed to be really crazy.
Wow.
All right. So, thank you, everybody.
Well, before you... this whole Read the Lead, I got this book. I'm like, I don't remember buying this book. Like, it showed up. I don't remember buying it. Still didn't remember. I opened it, and the author signed it. So there's a little sticker, and I was immediately turned off because little Proverbs 16:3 in there. I was like, seriously? No, I don't want to read it. It turns out there are two authors. One of the authors works at Phone Burner. So Phone Burner bought a copy for everybody.
So you were drunk at a Christmas party and they gave it out as gifts, and you just took it home.
Yeah. Yep.
What proverb is it?
16:3.
Let's see how bad it is.
It's like all the others. You cherry pick the content, you know.
I like it though. Kind of like it. It just means have a goal.